UFC 248 is a wrap here in Las Vegas, and it was a very eventful night. Israel Adesanya keeps the middleweight belt in the main event. Of course, a crazy close fight. I don't know, from cage side, Nolan, I know we thought that Yoel Romero possibly had it done. I'd be curious, Danny, you were backstage, you were watching on television, so I'd be curious to know your opinion first. How do you think the main event went down? Do you think Israel won, or do you think Yoel Romero maybe did enough?
It was a close one. I think I tweeted something like, it's going to go 48-47 to someone. I didn't really know how to judge that fight because there wasn't much to judge on. There wasn't much action. Both fighters had some good shots, but again, they were very sporadic and not much action happened. So, to be honest, I didn't feel strongly about either fighter. It could have gone either way. So, again, a very hard fight to judge specifically just because there wasn't much to judge.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a little tough in that sense. Who do you think the blame goes more on, though? That was kind of the debate coming out of this one. Does it fall on Yoel Romero? Does it fall on Israel Adesanya? Nolan, what do you think?
I mean, for me, I don't know why we have to pick somebody to blame. Like, they were both in there. They both had a job to do, which was to win the fight. The entertainment factor that comes along with it, you know, people sit in those seats to watch an entertaining fight, and they didn't see that tonight. So I think it takes two to tango. We had Dana up here earlier who said that Israel kind of matches the style of his opponent that he fights. But to me, I mean, that's kind of an unfair claim, because that means he can be boring at times too. So for me, I don't understand why we have to pick one, and I kind of blame both of them.
Yeah, very interesting. I think I would tend to agree with that. And Danny, what do you think comes out of this? I mean, I think Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa, the obvious fight to make here. But what about Yoel Romero? I mean, you were talking to him up there in Spanish and stuff. It seems like this is probably his final title opportunity. But do you think he can potentially get back there? Or do you think this was kind of too harsh of a moment for him? Dana was pretty critical of him post-fight, saying that he would have to do a lot to get back to this point. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think Dana was a bit harsh, and I feel like the public is being harsh on Romero as well. And I mean, let's be honest, you know, right when things are fresh off happening, you know, emotions tend to be high. So I'm curious to see how we feel about this whole situation a few days removed, a few months removed. And remember, Romero says he will plan on fighting for 10 more years. So that's a lot of fights left. So he can definitely put on a win streak and put some fights together. And he's clearly evolving, although we saw that it was an interesting and very weird performance from his part. He's usually known for gassing out. We saw him pace himself a lot better, right? His defense was much better, maybe too good, right? But definitely, I feel like Yoel Romero's still up in the mix. He's still a very good fighter, and look, styles make fights. Maybe Israel Adesanya wasn't the right partner for him, but you never know. You pair him up against a few other guys, he puts on a few exciting performances, and all of a sudden we're forgetting about that Adesanya win, so that Adesanya loss. So I just kind of want to wait and see what happens, but I don't think this is it for Yoel Romero. I think there could very well be another chapter to him.
Yeah, and Izzy, I mean, for him, I think he's able to move on from this a lot better. He still has the belt. He has a fight basically lined up at this point that people are excited about. So for him, I think, you know, he moves forward. It's not going to be a big deal. But in the co-main event, basically the antithesis of what we saw in the headliner, Zhang Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk put on a ridiculous fight. Dana White called it the best women's MMA fight he's ever seen, one of the best fights ever. Future Hall of Fame fight too. Man, just absolutely craziness in there. What did you think, Danny? I mean, we'll ask for your scorecard on that one. Do you think Joanna deserved the nod there, or do you think the champion deserved to keep her belt?
No, I think I had it 48-47 Weili Zhang, but I mean, it was a close fight, but in the end, I thought, you know, she did the most damage. We clearly saw that right on the forehead of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and she had an amazing performance. I think this is one of those fights that we have two winners. I don't think anybody's looking at Joanna Jędrzejczyk as someone that's sort of fallen off. If anything, she looked better than she's looked in a while. So definitely a performance that elevates both. And but yeah, I had it 48-47 for Zhang Weili.
Yeah, and I actually scored it for Joanna. I think there's a debate to be had there. But coming out of this performance, I mean, do you think this type of fight warrants a rematch? I know Dana said he doesn't want to talk to either of these women anytime soon about fighting again. But in terms of the other contenders and stuff out there, do you think, you know, running this back may be the best option?
Yeah, I mean, we see that the UFC sometimes goes for what's the biggest draw. They're doing it more and more. Obviously, with tonight's main event, which didn't turn out great, but then we also have Aldo and Cejudo. So they're much more open to doing maybe immediate rematches based on the fact that it was an all-time fight. So I wouldn't complain. I don't think many people would. It was close. Some people did score it for Joanna. So So for me, like, yeah, why not? You know, run it back. They're probably both going to need some time off. So I guess that kind of plays into it too. Logistics, who's going to be ready first? Does somebody have to have surgery? You know, what's going on there? Is everybody mentally ready to go again? So if the logistics fall into place, I'm here. Yeah. I'll watch it.
For sure. I think we all would. Danny, just speaking of Zhang, there was a lot of unanswered questions about her coming into this fight. You know, this was only her 5th UFC appearance. She had never gone to the championship rounds. In those rounds, she did do some good work too. Did you learn anything about Zhang tonight that maybe you didn't know coming into this fight?
100%. And those who have been following me, I was a big skeptic of Zhang Weili. I'm not, you know, just considering who she was facing. Obviously, Jędrzejczyk already a proven champion. She's a very skilled fighter. So, yeah, I had questions about her, and I think she answered all of them tonight. Not only inside of the cage, having a phenomenal performance, going the distance because we hadn't seen her go 5 rounds before, and just sort of displaying, because there was some times that she seemed to be going down, and the tide seemed to be turning for Jędrzejczyk, and her coming back from that. I mean, she truly is the real deal and a very good champion. And yeah, and outside of the cage, we also learned a lot. We knew that she had to deal with the whole coronavirus situation, which is, I mean, it's something heavy to deal with, plus a huge pay-per-view. I mean, you just go down the list. There were so many things she dealt with in the lead up to this fight. So 100% she's championship material, and we're looking at the real deal here.
For sure. And outside of that, you know, some interesting undercard fights, you know, some not so great, some amazing performances. For you, what would be one that stood out?
Sean O'Malley. I think he had an amazing performance. And look, Teco Quiñones is a super tough guy, a guy that's hard to finish. And O'Malley made it look easy. And he was out there calm, cool, collected. Even in his post-fight scrum, it was just kind of weird how chill he was. Yeah, again, he's been out for a while, and obviously with USADA issues, came back and just had an amazing performance. And even Dana White was taken away by how he handled everything. And you know, I think we're going to see him in some big fights in the future.
Sure, and I'll throw it to you, Nolan, to close it out here. Same question.
Yeah, I mean, Beneil Dariush, that finish, we were talking about a cage side. It was like artistic almost, the way that the whole thing happened, and Klaus kind of fell over and bounced off the cage, and just that whole sequence. I mean, if the Joanna fight wasn't the and Zhang fight wasn't the co-main event, that would be a major talking point, I think, of tonight. That round was great. Guys getting rocked back and forth, and then the finish, man, it reminded me kind of the Gregor Gillespie, Kevin Lee, only the punch version, just with the cage catching them. And man, that's something that'll always stick in my mind. So
that was one heck of a visual. Daniel Cormier's reaction in the commentary booth after was incredible as well. Definitely an interesting night here in Las Vegas. I think we'll be talking about this one for a little bit going into the future, but you can check all the coverage that we have post-fight on MMA Junkie. Keep it locked.